face, you're about to weep. Another river of blood running under my feet. Forged in a fire lit long ago. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. I'm last to leave, but the first to go. Lord, make me dead before you make me old. I fade on the fear of the devil inside of the enemy faces in my sight. Aim with a hand, shoot with a mind, kill with a heart like Arctic ice. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior, this is my song. I am a warrior and this is my song. I'm basking the glow of the rising war. Lay waste to the ground of an enemy shore. Wade through the blood spilled on the floor. And if another one stands, I'll kill some more. Bullet in the breach and a fire in me. Like a cigarette thrown to gasoline. If death don't bring you fear, I swear you'll fear these marching feet. Come to the nightmare, come to me. Deep down in the dark where the devil be. In the mall where the jaws and the razor teeth. Where the brimstone burns and the angel weeps. Crawl to the gods ever cross your path. And my silhouette hangs like a body bag. Hope is a moment now long past. The shadow of death is the one I cast. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior and this is my song. My eyes are steel and my gaze is long. I am a warrior and this is my song.
Welcome to Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors: Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, and of course, Sheepdog Response. We would also like to recognize some of our favorite nonprofit charities who are doing great things for those who have served this country of ours. Veterans Outdoors, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, PinUpsForVets.com, and the Lauren F. Bruner USS Arizona Memorial Foundation. To learn more about these nonprofits and how you can donate to their awesome causes, visit our website at www.stuandthenunn.com. All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn, episode 294 here on this July 21st, July 21, well over the halfway point. And I know our good buddy Shard, who's listening, his wife is so excited because she's all about Christmas. I'm sure she's already counting down. What's up, Rob? How you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. And yourself?
Good, good. So many topics this week. You know, I was working on some guests. You were working on some guests. We've got a couple. I'm waiting on some replies. And I thought, okay, Rob and I are going to be on tonight. Let me look at some topics. And my sticky filled up. I'm looking over the news and I'm just writing down more stuff if we can get to it. So it's going to be a filled show tonight.
Yeah, we thought that the Trump administration was, filled full of news, but Biden has surpassed that easily.
He has different kind of news.
Just his gaffes alone.
Yeah, different kind of news, for sure. But news nevertheless, and as is not where it's not boring. I mean, he's kind of boring, but what comes out of him and actually his policy and administration decisions are generating enough content to keep us going. But we are still working on great guests, and we are lining a few up here and there. Got a couple great ones coming on. I wish we would have got one in tonight, but some other things happening. A lot of stuff. It always is. As you guys know, this isn't Rob and mine and Toby's this isn't putting the beans on the table. So we do have day jobs, and they do sometimes take precedence. But interestingly enough, Rob, I was talking to an old friend of mine, a guy I've known for a really long time. I worked with at a couple different companies. I haven't talked to him in a number of years. He used to send me care packages in Afghanistan. And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing now? You retired out of there?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "You retired from everything, huh? You're just doing podcasts and making a living off that?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "No, that'd be awesome. Like, that would be the ultimate." I'm like, "I wish that would be great if I didn't have to do a regular job and could just focus on this." I'm still that's still the non-paying side hustle. Not quite delivering yet.
But I don't know that I could do this for a living. I don't mind talking, but I don't think anybody can talk as much as Bellavia. I mean
he makes it
that
easy.
guy can.
Yeah,
he makes it look easy.
yes,
He makes it look
I
very
miss,
easy.
I'm still on the air with him a number of times, but I miss being in studio with him. And I remember those times back when he was in studio, and because I worked right around the corner from the studio, and get out and I look at my schedule, I'm like, yeah, I can clear like 2 or 3 hours, and I'd come in, and I'm thinking, what are we going to talk about? And I text him like, what are we covering today? Just come on in. It would just like our show here, an hour and a half, we'd be on 3, sometimes 4 hours would be gone. It would just be nonstop,
Yeah.
and we're kind of half cracking jokes on each other and that kind of stuff, and taking in callers. And there's commercials and there's news and weather and traffic, but fly by, and he does make it look easy. A lot
Well,
of
and he's got, I mean, such a great wealth of knowledge. I mean,
he does.
he's a very, very well read,
And
very well learned
and a
person.
vocabulary. I mean, he says things. I mean, I know parts of Dave most people don't and never will. And I mean, he's a typical infantry grunt, and he'll say stuff on the air, and I'll text him. I'm like, "Where did you look up that $5 word at?" I'm like, "What did the producer just tell you?" And he uses it properly. I'm like, he knows what he's talking. But yeah, he is. He can definitely do it, and he can 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. And like this show, well, not like this, like this show magnified by 100. There's a lot of show prep, all that kind of stuff. A lot more than, but can definitely. If we had the callers, if we had the topics, if we had the awesome, infrastructure, we could pull it off. And I would do it if I could get paid for it and make a good living. People want to listen to me talk to people and stuff. I would surely do it. Till then, we're going to run our Bush League show here. That's okay.
There's no shortage of topics.
Nope. And Doug, thanks for pointing out. That's right. Your TV is on the Hallmark Channel, and I'm sure it is Christmas in July all month long. I've been at your house enough to know that there's pretty much 2 channels at Doug, I don't know what your cable package is, but if it could be just Fox Business and Hallmark, that's pretty much all you need to pay for. I don't think you watch anything else, but anyways. So how's things down there in the southern studio, almost southern studio? How warm is it? How's the weather been this week? There's a big heat wave going.
Hot, very, very hot. As you know, I got Starlink here at the house, and I've been getting my dish mounted in just the right spot. And I have a detached garage, and so I have to get that antenna mounted next to the garage, and that's a metal roof, and I have to climb up there, get my guy wires done, get my cables ran, and that's not easy in 100-degree weather.
No,
on a hot tin roof.
Yeah, it's one of the guys that works for me lives in rural Virginia, northern Virginia area. He has Starlink. He was telling me he has it on a 25 or 30-foot pole. He's above every solid. But he said clouds, like the weather they've had. We had some big rain coming through the last couple of days on the East Coast. He said that cloudy weather alone impacts.
Really?
Yeah, I would have thought it would do better than allowing cloud. I mean, HughesNet would just add wind and but he's saying cloudy weather impact us. All those damn satellites that Elon Musk is putting up, you think you can punch through clouds?
Yeah, it's cloudy here right now, and it's not doing too bad. I'm watching. I've got on one of the other monitors. I've got my different charts up, but it's not doing too bad. My biggest issue is because I live way out in the country, is getting over the 50-foot trees I have, and there's a couple of spots that there's a little bit of blockage. I'm sure in the wintertime when there's no leaves on the trees, it won't be an issue, but I'm gonna have to get there and trim those trees a little bit.
You need to bring up our favorite signal officer, our favorite SIGO, Doug. There, he'll come up there and get some line of sight going and get that directional antenna and shoot it off the atmosphere and all that stuff. So
Yeah, he and I have texted back and forth a little bit of that because we're both signal guys.
Oh, that's right.
So,
you were a signal guy.
I was. Yeah.
Well, should have this stuff down
after
pat.
running this cable, I should be an honorary cable dog.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, fire dog. Hey, well, let's get on some topics. We got enough. Thank you, everyone, for joining and tuning in to Stu and the Nunn. Again, Toby is, as you guys can see, is not here. Focusing hard on red rum fishing, sport fishing, Cabo San Lucas. One of our sponsors wanted to bring them up tonight. I'm missing a logo. I just realized on our why is that logo missing on the feed? Huh. Don't know what happened. And why that is. Anyways, I'll deal with that later. I don't want to break up the show, but we are missing a logo. I think we're missing Gear for Grunts. Also a great sponsor, Commodity Outdoor Development Group, boohammer.com. All great sponsors, and deliver buddy Cole. Haven't heard from him in a while. He's been busy too. Yeah, all great sponsors, and Toby's down there focusing red rum. I think he was at a conference. I saw him put up some posts. I think some kind of fishing conference.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Hawking his wares.
Yep. So he owes me some. I told him I can't be pimping red rum without some good swag. I need some hats. So I'm gonna be down. I'm gonna be down that way coming up a couple times with the next. So maybe hoping and praying that my timing and his timing would sync up and I could actually see. Yeah. So, anyways, obviously the big news this week so far. I mean, this is a great example, Rob. That says internet connections unstable. The big news came today. We could have had no news this week, but then this morning, the president goes from apparently having cancer yesterday to having COVID today. And I think the COVID one is real. The cancer was a little mistake, but the COVID is real. Tested positive.
He's
79 years old. Kind of a high risk.
He's double vaxxed, double boosted.
Jeez.
Got everything. Gets
I think he's on. I think he's on double secret probation. I'm not sure, but
and for someone, granted, he meets with a lot. Well, we think he meets with a lot of people. We don't get to see much of him in the Middle East, and we don't see.
He was over there. Maybe he got it from the fist bump. I don't know. Maybe. He didn't wash his hands after. Rubbed his face or something. I don't know.
It's probably been sitting in his basement just waiting. But he's probably not just physically, but medically, he's probably one of the most protected people in the world. And for him to have still gotten it, to be double vaxxed, to be boosted, and to have still gotten it.
Yeah, you would think anyone that gets near him I mean, I've got customers I go visit that I have to show a vaccination card to go in their building and have a meeting with them. It doesn't matter when I got the vaccination. It's definitely way beyond what they would now consider still valid, whatever. But you got to show. I would think that anyone that's going to be near the president, and maybe not some of those foreign dignitaries, maybe not some of the people in the Middle East, because they really can't force them when you go to their country. You would think they'd make them get a test before they get anywhere. I don't know. That's what it seemed like. That's why it came from there. I mean, it could have been. Maybe it was the day. I don't think it was the day before, because it takes like 4 days, right? Which would have been about the time. Because the day before, answered from the same event. But anyway, yeah, he's got it now and he's doing okay. I heard a funny thing earlier. They said that I guess the vice president, she came out to talk about it or whatever. They said she seemed the most jovial and happy and like mostly excited person that they've ever seen since she became vice president. Do you think maybe she thought she was like half a second away from human command there?
She's probably hoping that there's another COVID casualty. I mean,
I wonder if she cackled when she heard, when they're like, "Hey, I'm out of the man, the whatever they call him, lost dog or whatever his code name is, right?" He's
not that I want to ever find out, but I bet she cackles in her sleep.
She probably does. But we don't want anything to happen to him. One, he's the president, and we want him to be healthy and safe. And two, she's the vice president. We want him to be healthy and safe. So, we want him to. We would want, and it sounds like obviously, just like when President Trump got it, they took him to Bethesda. They gave him all the latest stuff they had at the time, some of the experimental stuff, and he bounced right back. He went and got in his big SUV and had it all locked down and drove around just to wave to everyone that came out to see him and fans. And he got ridiculed in the press for being behind like 5 inches of glass stuff. And ridiculed him. But what I'm hearing is the current president Biden is not planning to go to into the mandatory CDC 5 days of quarantine, going to Delaware. And gonna guess they say better for me. I guess maybe the CDC guidance is going to get revised. Maybe it only applies to certain people. Everyone but the president.
I mean, we've speculated for for a very long time, even before he was president, that he's got some cognitive issues.
Some,
right? He's in his 80s, or
he's got more than some.
He's 79 years old. But yeah. But I mean, even Tucker is reporting that, and I forget what Tucker's sources were, but from Fox, that it may have been Washington Post, that he's been taking drugs, and they drug him up before they push him out in front of the camera on occasions, and that he is taking something to assist him.
I think
in
we've
his
all
cognitive decline.
Yeah, I think we've all seen times, even back in the campaign when he had debates, there was a lot of talk, and it could have been speculation or conspiracy or whatever. No, I don't think anyone really knows, but they've had all kind of experts on. But there were times he came out was much more alert, attentive, witty, quick than there have been other times, right? And I think that's what led to some of that. The people going, what do they pump him up on so he can, one, be up past like 9 o'clock, and two, be quick on the tongue and sharp and fumbling and all that stuff. Granted, that was a couple years ago. Things have changed. Yeah, I mean, he is high risk. We said because of age. Mandy points out he also has Trump didn't have asthma and cancer, which apparently Biden had both. But Biden also fought corn pop. I mean, geez, man, you fight corn pop. I mean, you can fight anybody. But anyways, he did have that. Hope he gets better. That was the big news today. Ironically, it happened to be on the and if this isn't irony, or I guess it'd be irony, right? 1 year to the day when he was speaking a year ago today, saying that if you get vaccinated, you're not going to catch it.
You can't get it.
You can't get it. That's like God going, we're going to have a little fun with you here. I mean, 1 year to the day. What are the chances of that? That it was that on the money that you get, because like he said in his little video today, double vaccinated, you mentioned, double boosted, double secret probation, everything. Still got it. Now, symptoms are minor, hopefully, and they stay that way, which they've been for a lot of people. Right? I had it back in April. Made me sick for a day. I worked the whole day. I didn't take a break. I didn't take a cheat. I quarantined, did all that stuff, but it was like about my wife, it affected a little bit more. Had it worse, better. Our good buddy Doug has had it more times than I can count, and the last time was the worst time for him. And it does it all differently. But hopefully Hopefully those shots did pay off and make it better, and it's probably a good thing he had him because he is such high. His brain probably couldn't take much more. So anyways, yeah, so that's the big news. Any other thing we haven't covered on that? Did you hear about anything else going on today with the COVID?
No, not related to COVID. I mean, I wonder if the fact checkers will go back and remove all of his speeches where he said that if you're vaccinated, you can't get it. So I mean, they took everything else down.
They just won't. They just won't play it on those. They'll play it on Fox. I was watching Brett Baer earlier. He put together a montage of 5 or 6 times where Biden told the story of riding with his mom in the van, for all that kind of stuff. They showed, like, I think it was 5 different times he used the story up until yesterday. Where a couple times it was asthma, a couple times other people got cancer, and then of course yesterday he and everyone got cancer, and he just regurgitated. So, but no one else is going to play that, right? Short of just a couple news outlets. No one else is going to, they'll just They're not going to touch it. So they probably
Well,
won't.
but I
They
mean,
probably
what's the
won't go back and
solution
remove
for the
anything.
guy? What's the solution for the guy? He's already proven you can't even put a teleprompter in front of him because
Well-
he's going to read every word like Ron Burgundy.
Solution is he
So-
shouldn't have lived in Delaware, or I need to figure out why oil is just falling on vehicles. I didn't think Delaware was that big of an oil
Right.
state. I'm not sure the story behind that, but I don't know
Right.
why, unless he was saying it's refineries or something. Storage. I don't know why was there oil on the windshield. I need to go back and research. It'd be different if he was like, I was in Texas and they were drilling and it was, and it was all over us and that's cancer. I get that, but that's a George Bush thing. That's not a Delaware.
But you know, it's sad that, I mean, if you talk to anybody in the Democratic Party or anybody who supported the guy, and they are either willfully in denial, or just blatantly lying to you, and it's sad. I mean, we can see it on display that he's obviously not healthy. I mean, he's not the healthiest people mentally.
Right.
And it's not just us that's seeing it, it's the whole world seeing
Oh,
it.
the whole, absolutely.
And-
Absolutely. You know who else doesn't
And
look
to continue to deny it is just, it's ridiculous.
right? You know who else doesn't look healthy? Putin. I saw a video the other day of Putin going to Iran because Biden did his little tour, so Putin had to go out and do. Remember Putin when he's on horseback and shirtless and was like
Mhm.
Macho Man and was kind of stuff. They showed video of him today, like on the tarmac meeting the Iranian. That dude's got a gut like Santa Claus on him. I mean, it's like he's in bad. Don't know. Granted,
Really?
he could do whatever he wants and just sit around and eat fat bass or something. But I mean, it was just like, I don't know if it was, if he's got something underneath his coat, like, ostomy bag or something, but it's like protruding, which Putin has never looked like. There's been a lot of speculations about his health, what's going on with him, but he does not. And it's weird because his face isn't really, his body,
Right.
he doesn't, he just has his coat came way out. So very, very.
That's body armor. That's
It
his,
could have been
that's his
belly
plates.
armor. Could have been belly armor. Yeah, it could have been.
I mean, he's only 69, so
yeah, he's not that
only 69. But
Oh.
I mean,
Hey, 60's a new 40 or something. Hey, speaking of which, and I know Mandy's listening, and she's a very good friend. And just let's talk about Army recruiting. And let's talk about that. This has been in the news the last couple of days. They are going to miss their number. Looks like 10,000 soldiers the Army needs to bring in this year. I want to say it's like 477,000, something like that. It's roughly 4. And they're going to hit like 467, like something like that, right around 10,000. And the numbers I heard today were only 23% of the young people, like 18 to 21 or 18 to 23, somewhere in that age demographic, can even qualify to come into the military, which we know haven't been in, right? And not everyone, there's this mindset from the left and the ignorant that aren't associated with the military. It's like the last resort. Anybody can join. Oh, you're dumb. You can't get to college. You can just join the military. It's almost like, oh, you don't like the, anyone can just go to Canada and just move to Canada. It's like that easy. Well, it's not that easy to get in the military. 23%, either because of probably health, body composition, mental issues, right, medical things, all that kind of stuff. 23% can get in, and they're still going to come up shy. And that is in spite of the largest bonuses they've ever offered, $50,000 in bonuses.
that speaks volumes right there. I
Right.
mean, you and I both went in at young ages, and I can't say that in the current environment that if I were 18 again, that I would join.
Rob, I've had a son join. I've had other boys that wanted to join and couldn't because of medical things here and there. I would not be able to look my son or daughter, if I had one, but my child, if I had one at that age now, in the face and say, yeah, that's the place for you. And that hurts.
Yeah.
Right. I attribute everything I've succeeded, everything I've done in my life since the military, and even in personal and professional, how I've dealt with people, situations, how I look at things, my view on the world, my appreciation of what we have, all of that comes not only from my time as a military brat, but my time in the military. And I've 110% from the day I've started in the commercial, since the day I walked out of active duty and started in the business world, corporate world, have given 100% credit back to the military and what I learned there. And I'm now hiring my second CSP intern into my company. The first one was a huge success. The other one's already a success. I'm hiring right out of the military as interns and coming into the company. And it's because I can testify to what skills are they bring, and they're showing it firsthand.
Right.
It hurts me to be able to sit there and say I could not. All the benefits and all the pros that come out of that, I would have a hard time telling a child of mine or anyone that you should.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my son was in the Navy, and I don't, same thing. I don't know that I could tell him today to go in, and I don't think it, given the current situation, I probably lean towards not going.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
if I were 18 again.
And that says a lot when you weigh all the benefits, soft skills, interpersonal, social skills, everything else that you benefit out of the military, regardless of what your job is, right? And granted, some jobs bring different skills and stuff. To weigh all that and say, this other thing, this may not be the place. And, part of that is, in my mind, is kind of what is probably driving a lot of people. And that is the social experiment woke mentality that the senior military leadership from the Secretary of Defense down have invoked, impressed on the leaders all the way down. And that is not something, and you and I and Doug, I think we're talking about this earlier today, I didn't get a chance to chime in much, but that is not something that changes overnight. It's not going to change with the next president. It's not going to change. Those leaders have to be purged out, either retirement or quitting or whatever. It takes, if you would, generations to get rid of what is being done to the military right.
Well, I mean, firsthand, like anybody, that a bad leader, stays with you for a long time.
Right.
It can not only inhibit your own career, but it makes for, miserable time at whatever unit you're in. And usually the horrible thing that they do is when you have a bad leader like that, they ship them off to another unit.
They kick them down the road,
out for
right? Especially if they're a leader of some
years,
kind of rank. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they they continue on, and then they continue to move up, and they stay as bad leaders, and they develop bad leaders.
That's why we have the term,
cancer.
right? Yeah, that we have the term F up and move up, right?
Yep.
And it's because people aren't held accountable, and like I say, we kick it down the road. When I was in Afghanistan, we would have, the ETT mission I was on was made up of senior NCOs and officers, and when they would have one, and they would come from National Guard units all over the country, and they would have one that is substandard. For whatever reason, he got on the deployment, made it through, and rather than handle him, it could be a captain, a major, a sergeant major, a first sergeant, no matter what E7, rather than handle it and handle like they would back in the States with whatever actions they would take, they would just transfer him to another corps, to another unit, to whatever.
Right.
So when you got to meet one, they'd be like, hey, it's new captain, or there's new E7s coming in, or whatever. And they're like, yeah, he's been in this Kandak and this Kandak. And, oh, we're like his second or third one. You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why is he here? Like, unless they're trying to bring him back to his unit, like his state that he came from, if they're just bouncing him around, you're like, oh, he's a shitbag. Like, you just no one gets rid of no one gives up their star players from their team, right? Nobody says, yeah, he's my number one defensive man. Yeah, you can have him. He's my number one machine gunner. He's my number one whatever. No one gives him up. And that's what we have right now, right? It's if people got your back, if you have some top cover, they're going to take care of you rather than hold you accountable. And but when the highest levels are imposing this, this wokeism, social experiment all the way down, and the generations think that's okay, and that's what I need to punch my ticket. You're right. It breeds not only well, one thing, that's one part, right? That's not going to get rid of for a while. Number two, you've seen this, I know. I've talked about this. Like Doug and I have seen this personally in units we've been in. That when you have young, impressionable leaders, and I'll pick on the officer corps because this is kind of where it's most prevalent, because of just the OER rating system and everything like that. At least how it was when I was in. When you have young lieutenants who are looking at their captains, but more likely majors and lieutenant colonel and that kind of stuff, on how to behave and how to be, because you got to remember, when an NCO, and the reason I'm picking officers, let me just be clear. By the time a NCO becomes a leader of effect, probably around the rank of E6, they have about 7-9 years, somewhere in there, probably in that, and on average that time frame. They have been brought up for a while. They've been probably to 2 units, maybe even 3 with an overseas unit. They've kind of got a good sampling of what good leaders look like and bad leaders. So by the time they get to a level where they can lead probably 9-10 soldiers or more, they've got a good thing going on. A young lieutenant who's instantly comes right out of college, who really knows nothing more than the freaking E4. Really, E4 knows more, but knows nothing more than an E3. But has a degree and got a commission and is now potentially in charge of 42 souls. And so he's 20-something years old, trying to look at, how to act, looks at those captains, majors, and lieutenant colonels, and so on and so forth, how to act. They're very easily influenced by that first unit. That first unit sets a tone. So if that first unit has a toxic leader or toxic leadership from the get-go, and maybe they're the kind of leader that yells and screams at all their people, or they're the kind of leader that's just chill and tries to be everybody's friend, whatever it may be, right? More so on the aggressive yelling, screaming, and thinking, just trying to lead by fear. That young lieutenant, when they get up to be a first lieutenant, maybe up to a specialty platoon leader or captain, they now think that's the way you do it because that's all they saw. They don't know any different. Where, and you know what? Guess what? They're going to be they're instantly in charge of 42 men or women the second they walk into the door. Like, it's not like they do a couple years. It's not like they're on staff and this and that. They get right. Hey, you're the second platoon Charlie Company platoon leader. Here's your platoon sergeant. Good luck.
Well, and I mean, you pointed to the officer corps, but your enlisted corps can affect that lieutenant as well. I mean, if you've got good E7s, good E8s, they're going to pull that lieutenant aside and make sure they walk the proper line.
Hopefully so. If that officer's been taught, trained, or groomed to know, listen to your NCOs. If they're a Mustang, they probably do because they came from that. But if they picked up somewhere along the way, whether West Point or ROTC or however they had, listen to your NCOs. They'll keep you straight. They'll get you all that stuff. Great. If somewhere along the line they got this idea of a caste system like the Navy, right, and they think that I'm the lieutenant, I know better than all of them. We've all seen lieutenants and officers like, and they think they know better, then they're going to be like, I'm a lieutenant. You're just a sergeant. They do. You're right. NCOs could and should have an impact on lieutenant, but I've seen more than my fair share who think they are God's gift to the Army, and they ain't nothing but 2 inches away from being an asshole. That's all they are.
I was fortunate being commo, being signal, and being in the technical type locations that I was around a lot of warrant officers. All right, so a lot of the officer influence that I saw was the squared away type.
So did you see the warrant officers? Because they're like a chupacabra.
I worked directly for warrant officers, so I saw them pretty often.
Let me ask you this, because my friend Mandy was a warrant officer before she retired. Did you see him at PT?
No.
Okay, all right. That's what I want to know.
I did see him at work.
You saw him at work. Maybe saw him at an afternoon or mandatory formation of some type, right? Maybe change command or something, but just probably didn't see him at PT. If he did, I'd be like, should have took a picture of that. Those are like unicorns.
Yeah, Never saw warrant at PT.
No. No matter what kind of warrant, pilots, signal, admin,
didn't matter.
Right? Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'm sorry. You still are a warrant officer. Okay. Whatever. She knows I'm talking to her. Yeah. So, so I want to back up on this argument. I don't spend a while on this, but what gets me is with the $50,000 bonus, with them that desperate to spend that kind of money, and everything, lowering standards. Right now, they can get in. They did where it was a few weeks ago. You could get in without a GED or high school diploma. Yeah. And then they caught a lot of flack on it. Like, no, you need a GED. But they'll have, now the tattoos are cool with the neck tattoos and the hand tattoos. I don't know if you can still get in as a felon. You could for a while when Iraq was kicking off hard. You could get in with a felony. Lower your standards, right? Mm-hmm. So
the tattoo one has kind of come and gone over the years. I mean, because even when I was in basic training, there were guys with tattoos on their necks and stuff like that. So that kind of ebbs and flows over the
Right.
years.
But now it's like official in regs and all that kind of
But the
stuff. Right?
GED one, yeah.
Yeah, you had to have a GED,
Yeah.
right? You know, because they need cooks. So if you got a GED, you can at least be a cook. My apologies to cooks, but just how it is. You don't have to have high ASVAB score to boil burgers. That's all I'm going to say. But you know, so they have all this. They're lowering the standards. They are throwing $50,000 per soldier to I'm sure certain MOSs or whatever to enlist for like 6 years, right, and all that stuff. However, we're still going to throw out. We have the potential right now to throw 238,000 service members out of the military because they haven't got a shot. A shot of which only, I believe the numbers I saw, and Rob, you could correct me if you would. 94 military members. I want to say 94 out of 4.1 million or something got sick or maybe died from COVID. Maybe it's died from COVID. Like 94. And maybe it's a couple 100,000 got sick. But they're going to throw out 200 and almost 40,000 soldiers. They're on track to get rid of because they won't get this shot. A shot that now we're all well past, right? A lot of people have gotten. A lot of people have antibodies. A lot of people have gotten it a couple times. So they're so desperate to throw this money and so desperate to lower these standards. But they're still going to throw out qualified, trained, probably for the most part, combat experienced warfighters and soldiers out because they won't get a shot.
Well, and yes, the standards have kind of changed a little bit, and even peak of GWAT, they kind of lowered some of even the fitness standards. But on average, your soldier is going to be healthier than your average U.S. citizen. Even your reservist is going to be a little healthier, right? Because you do have standards. You have height, weight standards that you have to meet.
You do PT, and right.
And so you're throwing out soldiers who are younger, healthier, for not getting a shot when, and you're right, as of January this year, only 6 military members had died of COVID.
It was a 6. 6 is it.
6. Okay. 6 is it.
I don't know what that percentage looks like, but I imagine it's a .000 something. Right.
64,924 cases.
I knew you'd be. I knew you'd come with
28
them numbers.
Hospitalized. 51,000 recovered. 6 deaths.
I knew you would. I knew you'd come with the stats. Yeah. So that's their choice, right? And you know, it wasn't required when they came in. It wasn't that initial set of shots they got when they came in. And you know, to process them and bounce them out. Apparently, they're not that desperate. They'd rather spend $50,000 to bring in a noob that doesn't know shit, that probably won't even see combat in the 6 years that they come in. Definitely won't have the experience and the amount of money they're going to spend on. Okay, so Manny's asking how many died of anthrax. That's a good question too. You know who didn't die of anthrax? Me, because I got an illegal shot in Desert Storm. Never got another one since, which is why my hair fell out. Anyways. But you know, why they would rather do that and spend all the money to train that soldier, this and that, when they have qualified soldiers already in that forgotten more or spent more time in the crapper than these new soldiers coming in will ever get. And that's what they'd rather do, and let soldiers in with lower standards and all that kind of stuff. It's look, you got to have it one way or the other. Do you need soldiers? Are you willing to lower standards, or do you not need soldiers? You know, you wouldn't.
Well, do you remember? Do you remember a couple of months ago, there was one of the basketball players didn't want to take the shot.
Yep.
And
I think it was
so
New
they
York,
would not let
New York
him
Knicks,
play.
Can't play in Madison Square Garden.
So they would not let him play, but he could go watch.
And if he went on the road,
he could go watch.
He couldn't play at home in New York City. If they went on the road, he could play.
Right.
He could play in other cities.
So for the believe the science group, they don't even believe common sense. I mean, because the BS that they're spitting doesn't pass the smell test. I mean, it just literally does not. And
it'd be different if it was running rampant. I know more soldiers that got VD on a weekend in Korea than have died from COVID in the Army. And guess what? You could still go down range, and you didn't have to put a helmet on that soldier, and you could still do whatever you wanted. And when I say more soldiers than have died of COVID, when I say more soldiers died of COVID on a weekend, more soldiers in my platoon on a weekend got a VD multiple times than have died of COVID in the Army. So You know, that's the reality is they're just they got to determine what they're going for. And you know, when you got services like the Navy and all the rest of them that are doing commercials about pronouns, and they're more worried about how to properly address someone's pronoun. How about you how to properly address someone of rank? How about you properly know how to snap to parade rest or talk to somebody or something like that who is senior to you than worrying about the pronoun they make. That's the reason why they have a recording shortfall. It's because the young people of America are looking at this. They're not dumb. They really aren't. Some of them may be crazy when you put if they got mental issues. We've seen that, but they're not dumb. They're looking at it. They go, that's not the military I want to be part of. It's just not.
Angry Cops did a great video on that Navy video, by the way.
He did. Yes, he
did. He
says
when he talks about pronouns, he says, well, how about you just call them by their name and rank?
Yeah.
Which is what you're supposed to do anyway.
Right. So
you know, there is no pronouns in name and rank.
Right. So speaking right, yeah, it's not a he or she. It's sir, ma'ams, sergeant, sergeant
captain,
major,
sergeant,
right?
Yeah,
special lips or whatever, as we call them, special lips. But corporal, right? You always got to call a corporal. Corporal ain't gonna let you address him without calling him corporal because you know he's a corporal. He's kind of hung up on that.
Right.
But speaking of pronouns, and then I'm gonna let you lead after this one. I know I've been hitting topics. AOC she got arrested, dude. Did you see that? AOC, the squad, Omar.
I did.
They got taken. I thought they were gonna get a knee on the neck, but they didn't get the knee on the neck. They didn't get cuffs on either.
They didn't even get handcuffed.
Looks good, right? If you're gonna fake it, I mean, Lord knows, someone would have looked at that video close enough, even if she didn't act like an idiot and raise her fist. They would have looked at it and said, she doesn't even have cuffs. There's no cuffs. And they would have zoomed in, like pixelated it and looked at all that and been like, she doesn't even have cuffs on. But if you're going to fake it and put your hands behind you, right, when you raise your fist up, it's kind of like you just keep your hands down to your side. You just, I don't know what that was intended to do.
Cuffs are uncomfortable. Cuffs are uncomfortable.
They are.
So you can tell she didn't have them on.
Right.
She would have been very uncomfortable. Even if they're not on tight, they're not comfortable.
Some cuffs are comfortable, but we're not going to talk about those. But some are comfortable. But if she didn't have, she had furry pink fuzzy cuffs. I'd have been pretty cool. That'd been funny. But yes, some cuffs are uncomfortable. She would have, but the whole like that. And then she tried to come out after and say, well, that's the proper way of if you're getting detained by the police to put your hands. No, it's not. That's not. You're supposed to have your hands in front of you, showing your hands all the time, not putting them behind you. And acting like you. I mean, it's almost like when January 6th happened. I mean, dude, what it reeked to me was when January 6th happened, and she was like, I was under my desk. I thought I was going to get raped. You were in an outer building. You were not. They didn't even come into your building because you're a noob, junior, freshman congressperson. You don't even get to move into that building. You're like out in the trailer park of buildings. And she was like, I heard him banging. I was under my desk. I thought they're going to rape me, which she also thinks everyone wants to date her. Right. And now it's like she thought she was getting arrested. But so we'll see. And she's a big booty Latina apparently that does not like being called that. So I guess that guy wants to date her. I don't know, but obviously that he was being very disrespectful, obviously, of course, but she likes to envision that everyone wants to date her and do things with her and hang out with her. But not a guy calling her out, and I'm not even sure she's still with her fiance yet, who was the guy next to her walking up the stairs.
That was him. That was him.
That was his fiance.
And
he was walking the dog.
That speaks volumes. That speaks volumes for him to not even step up.
So you heard what she put up on Instagram afterwards, right? She put up on Instagram asking people asking men on Instagram how do they deal with someone getting harassed or harassed or bullied or whatever, and they don't have enough. They don't respond to it in a moment because they don't know how to respond. She literally was asking men on Instagram, public people, how they deal with when they can't react and to defend their loved one or whoever. Really, because her fiance didn't. Like, so she said, how do you handle not responding when someone gets harassed? How do you deal with that in the moment? Which is like, so I don't know if the marriage is still on. I'm not sure, but I'm sure he got a beating.
Yeah, she may want to find somebody a little
bit manlier.
I don't know.
I got a buddy. I got a buddy of mine. I got a buddy of mine, Dave. He lives. He's single. He's looking. No, maybe he's not single. I don't know. But yeah, I could hook her up with somebody. But I'm not sure I'd want to though. Anyways, what you got going on? I know I've been hitting a lot of topics.
So one of my probably least favorite things was Representative Cicilline, and I don't even know what state he represents, to be honest, because he's an idiot. So they were testifying, and it was his turn to speak, and he's showing pictures of a pistol AR with a brace that anybody with any more than 2 brain cells understands that brace is to be able to strap it to your arm if you're handicapped or have problems holding it, to be able to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
It does nothing for the fire of the weapon as far as changing the cycle. Nothing.
Nope.
But his claim in front of God and everybody,
just real clear for everybody. It's in lieu of a buttstock that you would put it into your.
Correct. And in front of God and everybody, he claimed that by attaching and he even called it a stabilizing brace. He called it a stabilizing brace, and then said when you put it on that weapon, it becomes a bump stock, and it makes that weapon into an automatic weapon. Now, thankfully, there was a veteran on Congress that pointed it out to him that he was an idiot. But for someone like that,
was it Tom Cotton that called him an idiot, or?
No, I forget which one it was, but Tom Cotton's a senator. He's actually my senator.
That's true. He is your senator
here in Arkansas.
Yep.
But thankfully, someone else pointed it out to him that no, that is not the case. But I mean, if you're going to speak on a topic like that, especially if you're going to continue to push for gun laws and stricter gun laws, at least educate yourself on it. Don't go on TV and look like that much of an idiot, because you literally, even the people that are on the fence, and I have friends that are very left leaning, that are very pro 2A, and they probably looked at that guy and went, "Oh my God."
That reminds me of that reporter. Remember the New York Times reporter, whatever, went to the range and shot an M16 and then talked about how much it hurt his shoulder. Oh my God, it was so loud.
Gave him PTSD.
Yeah. And then there was then someone did a video of it, and then they showed one of probably a 10, 12-year-old girl on the range just rocking it, or AR, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that. So he says a pistol brace to turn, that'd be a great pistol brace. I'd like to know who has that, PSA or Keeper and Dirt or somebody. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of not how it works.
Right. Yeah. On a different topic, looks like Ukraine is going to be able to open up their ports again. So they're supposed to go to the table tomorrow, I think, with Russia, and sign a deal to be able to open the Black Sea ports, and hopefully start getting some things back out of that area. That
I think grain's the biggest thing, right? Wheat and grain and stuff like that. Fertilizer's
a big one.
You know why? Probably because the Russians.
Probably.
I don't think they really have the means to logistically backhaul it back into Russia, so they probably needed it. I know Russia was working with Turkey to allow, I guess, ship to Turkey or something to that degree. Yes. Yeah, and I wonder if it's tied to what I heard today, is that the Russians are running out of steam. Their supply lines, their logistics, their everything. They did not get the proper yellow 4 reports in, or whatever the hell they're called anymore. They are running out of steam. They're running out of people. They've run out a lot of colonels, and it looks like that they are starting to slow down, and it's either going to stagnate and either hold or pull back. But it is just all the experts are saying it's not going anywhere, and it's going to stall.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see. I thought was interesting, because the first lady of Ukraine, Zelensky's wife, was at. Talking to Congress yesterday, I think, and pretty much asking still for air power, still for, sounds like the Ukrainians are not giving.
Well, I mean, Russia's backed by China, so I mean, there's no shortage of money, there's no shortage of supplies. So
since China always have that. Yeah, since China's blockaded their banks, to keep people from taking money out, because they're telling people their savings in the banks are now investments. Yeah,
But I'll tell you whose ports are not open, and those are California. In truckers have shut down some of the ports in Oakland and I think Los Angeles.
Oh, really? I did not hear about that.
Because of a law, because of a law that the California's trying to pass, and so the truckers are not happy with it. The Assembly Bill 5 and requires companies to define some independent truckers as employees, and so these independent truckers are not happy with how that works, and they're shutting down ports.
So it's kind of like
some ports open to get stuff in, something's closed.
Kind of like the Canadian thing, except that was over shots, and this is over just a reclassification of how they're looked at as employees.
Right.
Huh?
Independent truckers have to, they want to treat them as employees. So
I think one thing
so
we've
even
seen
though the
is,
ports in I was going to say, even though the ports in the Ukraine are going to open till they get California solved, which is a major area for a lot of stuff to come in.
You know whose ports are open? You know whose ports are port? Texas and Florida. They'll take you. Come on to Texas and Florida. They'll take your wheat. Yeah. They'll take your grain. They'll take your vodka. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know about that. That is, I think one thing this has taught us over the last year or so with supply chain and all that, just as much as the electrical grid, the gas pipelines, all that, water purifications and all that stuff are core to our infrastructure. I think all can agree now that our transportation industry, private and public and everything else, truck, train, and all that stuff is just as critical and essential, if not even more so, as a core part of our infrastructure to this. That product can't move because it costs too much that trucker to put in his tank at $6.50 a gallon. Can't get to, stuff is stuck out at sea, whatever it may be. That product can't move. It has a wide range effect on it pretty quickly.
Well, even when you go beyond that, so like the push for electric vehicles and to go green and stuff like that. Anybody who's been in a farming community and been around farmers knows that they've got a number of pieces of machinery that run on diesel. They store diesel in hundreds of gallons to feed their tractors, to feed their all of their equipment, even their trucks. You're not going to be able to convert all of those farmers over to green energy overnight. And so as your prices of diesel and gas go up, it's rougher on the farmers to be able to feed their equipment to get that stuff to the truckers to truck it to where it's got to go. Not to mention all of the stuff that's made, all the plastics and things that are made today off of petroleum.
Dude, everything from that North Face jacket to the case to your iPhone, to the band on your Apple Watch, you name it, right? If it's plastic or anything like that based, rubber based, right? It's made with petroleum. But it's too easy to forget that. It's
well, that was some of the testimony that was going on this week. Also, was talking about green energy and talking about they want to convert everything to electric cars and stuff like that. And they asked them numerous times. It was Pete Buttigieg was on testifying, and the majority of the power produced to charge these electric cars comes from coal and natural gas.
Right.
So sure, you're going to get rid of the ones that burn it, but now you're putting an even bigger burden on the grid because now you're having to charge all these vehicles.
We've talked about it a number of times here, right? We've talked on the show about that. You can't drive from Denver to Dallas or either way with an all-electric vehicle. There's not the charging stations to make that trip completely, not Tesla, not anything. But let's look at the last week and a half, and let's focus on the great state, Republic of Texas. When they are, and Southern California, when they are asking you to unplug your vehicles, turn off your ACs and everything else because of rolling blackouts, because the heat's so bad, everyone's AC and fan is on. They are, guess what? If you have a nice, good old gas-powered vehicle, you can still drive to work and everything. But they want everyone to plug these vehicles in. They want everyone to have electric vehicles, but then they're asking you to unplug them, right? Hybrid vehicles, great. I think hybrids are awesome. You got this option. You do run around town. You're on battery only. Great. That makes sense. But an all-electric vehicle, we are leaning so far over our skis. We don't have the infrastructure to support the electrical demands we have without plugging in freaking vehicles, much less plugging in a damn army of Teslas, ugly-looking Mustangs, and anything else, right? It just is not That's the best
Well,
Tesla you have right now.
back to the farmer. Can you imagine? I mean, a Tesla draws, quite a bit just to get charged, right? It takes several hours, and you can have some of the superchargers and stuff like that and charge them faster. But can you imagine charging a grain combine, a combine that is, as wide as a house?
Let me
that's
remind
cutting
you
down grain.
that a few months ago, the wonderful president of this country said that they had this plan, and there was something happening to make all military vehicles. DoD was going to be running on green energy vehicles and all. So I'm trying to picture this M1 just and the battles I've been in, the things I've seen coming across the top of the dune, right? Stabes going, turret moving back and forth, sees a target, gunner calls it, the DC calls it out, gunner takes it, loader puts a round in there, and the thing just drops because of the freaking battery. Right? Our enemies only have to outrun us till our dumbass batteries drop, and they're going to smoke us. Yet, again, another example back to the military. This is what we want to spend our money, energy, and effort on. We're going to try to make the military all electric. Yeah, that's not going to work. We don't even do good. I mean, we have so much electrical driven things now, from motor ballistic computers to GPSs to radios to all this stuff, right? To even aim points and all that stuff, that we still go, hey, you better still know how to use a compass and protractor. You better know how to
right.
You better know how to use those iron sights. You better have the backups ready that don't require battery or electricity or anything like that. Yet, we want to just make all of our military vehicles. That all any country needs to do is just invest in the best EMP technology they can, and they will automatically and instantly disable the entire military's transportation capabilities. I mean, and in fact, they'll do that to our country, right? Get an area, drop an EMP in Austin, and watch how many Teslas drop in the middle of the road.
Yeah. But the good thing for an M1 is an M1 today will run on just about anything that has.
It will.
Any
run on corn
any
oil.
bit of.
Yeah. But if it's all electric,
just about anything.
And then we got to figure out how to do those batteries. It's the same thing we're seeing right now with California. I think I talked about in the show last week, right? California's facing a crisis.
Solar panels.
Because their solar panels are hitting the 25-year mark. They're running out. They have a 25-year lifespan. They pushed them in 2006. They gave tons of subsidies. They don't know where they're going to. It's a very complicated process to disable and dismember those things, and properly get rid of them. And they don't have nowhere near the capacity. They don't know where those things, like the blades off the.
Well, California gets some of its electricity from Texas. Texas exports electricity to California.
I can't believe California allows that. They won't even allow their people to fly to Texas. Wow.
Right. Well, they'll take your power.
Yeah, Texas should cut that off. Like, no, you don't want our power. It's some bad Second Amendment abortion state rights power.
Right.
Yeah, I mean those batteries got to go somewhere. And guess what? What it takes to produce them? Petroleum, energy, carbon footprint to produce those batteries. And they don't just evaporate.
When you take that lithium, that lithium out of the ground, I mean, it leaves the ground unusable. I mean, one, it's a big hole in the ground from mining the lithium. The mining of it, it seeps into the water table, and so it destroys the water table around where you mine it. You can't grow, can't farm of any kind of animals on that ground where you've mined that lithium for those lithium ion batteries. It's literally destroying the planet faster than using fossil fuels has over the last several hundred years.
Then fracking, I'm assuming, probably worse than fracking does, which everyone loves to get all.
But nobody wants to talk about that.
No.
I mean, their excuse is, but lithium won't always be the solution. But at the speed that lithium destroys and the mining of lithium, and I was reading something the other day, and they said that they've seen upwards of 12% increase in fires at dumps and places like that because of the volume of lithium batteries that are your phones and your laptops and stuff like that are going into the trash. They're starting fires.
But remember, they won't allow them. Second, I don't. You froze, but there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Oh, you bounced back. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just saying, they won't even allow them on a plane, right? You can't take. They tell you before you get
Right.
on. If you got a smart
Right.
suitcase, if you got lithium batteries, take them out. Don't check them in this and that, whatever. Right. We saw this ship go down back in the winter. Right. That big ferry carrying all those VWs, Porsches, and all those Audis from Germany that caught on fire, and then it floated around the North Atlantic. Burned a whole big hole in the side, and they were pretty convinced. They don't know, but the only thing that would have caused a fire was the lithium batteries and the electrical ones that caught fire while it was at sea. Things sank to the bottom, full of cars. We see things all the time where cars catch fire, or hoverboards, right? Hoverboards were all lithium batteries. They were bursting in flames. Can't bring that stuff on planes. Samsung. What was that? What was that? Note? Yeah. The Note or something? Note 7?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a hot phone. It's hot. I'll be here all night. No, I won't. Just a little bit more. Yeah, it's but you're right. Lithium is it's, and you can't sit there and go, well, it's not our long-term plan. But you don't have another plan. What do you think? You're going to the moon to get something? Like,
right.
There is nothing else. So it's all you got right now. To hope that we're going to find some other awesome rare mineral that we have never discovered before. It's going to be the saving grace. Okay, I got some oceanfront property for you.
Yeah.
But, hey, a couple of things I want to hit on real quick is these Governor Abbott, great man, is Governor of Texas, doing great things down there. He told the president, look, keep letting these people across, and the numbers are so much worse than you hear on the news. So much worse. What's coming across and the things that are happening, the news is absolutely not covering, because even what little that Fox or OAN that cover don't even do it really happening on the border. I can tell you that. What's coming. He said, hey, I've had enough. I'm going to start getting these people and putting them in buses. He didn't force them, didn't trick them, didn't say, come on, boy, come on inside. He said, hey, this bus is going to D.C. Who would like to go to D.C.? They were piling in there. And now the mayors of D.C. and New York City, at a minimum, those two are now complaining and wanting federal funds, because they said all the illegal immigrants are filling up their homeless shelters and are taxing their system. And they want the federal government to pay to do something. And now but Governor Abbott's a big bad guy, and he's mean for busing them. And the administration is saying he's a bad guy for doing it. So, they were fine with him just letting I get it. Texas is a big state. We know it. But, they're not just going to start in a corner and start filling it up. Yeah.
Well, they were fine shipping them off to red states. They were shipping them to Florida in the middle of the night. They were shipping them off to, other red states throughout the country.
They're all over New York. They're all over. Yeah, they're in upstate New York. They're everywhere. But yeah, they're shipping. What it goes to show is the border problem is not a border state problem. It's a nationwide problem. Right. And now the mayors are all complaining and crying and stuff like that. Hey, Governor Abbott said, well, you're gonna make it hurt. We're gonna make it hurt for everybody. And you know what? Some of the immigrants said that went to D.C. Said that, no, I don't want to come to D.C. I want to get to Florida. But hey, they drove me here. This is a lot closer to Florida than Texas is. So and so they're just using it as a jumping off point to get where they need.
Right.
And it's taking cities that were already racked with violence and home. Hey, he's just sharing the wealth. You want to let them all across the border? Then he's going to help. He's spending Texas taxpayer dollars to get them all. Yeah, maybe they'll fix the problem. I don't know.
What's going on at the border is unsustainable as a country. I mean, you can't bring in the volume that we're bringing in, and put the crime and all of that aside. That this country doesn't have an unlimited number of resources. I mean, you already saw where we're having rolling blackouts, right? We're already having, food shortages. We're already having, baby formula shortages. We're already having problems as a country with shortages, and we don't have an unlimited bit of supplies and resources. So that's why countries control their borders, on top of the crime aspect of it.
Right.
But you get to pick and choose, and the U.S. is one of the few countries that doesn't necessarily pick and choose, but most countries do pick and choose who they let in. They want people that are going to be productive members of society. They want
contributing members of society,
and contribute, and are going to accept the culture and add to the culture.
That's why our immigration process. That's why our immigration process to get naturalized as a citizen you come out of that process. I don't know if you've ever met anyone like that, Rob. I've known several people who went through that. They know more about our country, our government, our history than just about anyone that I ever meet. In fact, when they usually question me, and several that I've met that have come from China and come from India and stuff, they will sit around at dinner or something and they'll ask me a whole bunch of questions about our national history and our founding fathers and this, and I pretty much answer most of the questions pretty close to almost 100%. And they're just like, I can't believe it. You know how many people I've asked? They have no idea. No, because they just, I said, I do. That's the way I am. I'm a military family. I kind of know that. Studied it. But they're like so many. And most time they tell me I'm the first one that's answered. Because they had to freaking memorize it. I mean, they know our history because they want, the system is meant for you to be a productive, contributing country. And you're going to know everything about it that you possibly, how this country came about, why we have the rules and laws. And our history as best as they can get people to memorize. And that's the whole point.
I will say I am sick and tired of hearing Title 42 from Republicans. You've had majorities over the past couple of however many decades. Pass immigration reform.
Yeah.
Stop band-aiding the system. Pass immigration reform. Do your job as an elected official and pass laws. Then when an administration comes in and starts ignoring the laws, then you have a legal avenue to go back after them.
But don't we have the laws? We have the laws. They're just ignoring them. I mean, Title 42 was only came about because of COVID, right? There's already laws there. There's a way to come into this country. I know enough people that I work with and friends with that are went through, or in the process of going through that. There's a way to do it. It's our country, our federal government refuses to enforce the laws that are on the books, right?
Well, what we've had a problem with is the last probably 30, 40 years, we've been trying to manage this country with executive actions.
Right.
Instead of managing it with actual laws.
Right. Executive orders.
We manage it with executive actions that swing back and forth, every presidential change. And then when somebody doesn't like, a party is a majority and they don't like it, then they've relied on the Supreme Court. The Congress is not doing their job. Congress is not passing laws like they should, and instead they're passing BS laws like the New Green Deal and Build Back Better that will destroy things instead of doing the things that will actually help this country.
Obamacare.
And I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. If it makes sense for the country, don't vote against it. Vote for it. If it makes sense for the country, do the right thing. Don't do just what your party wants, and don't vote against something simply because it's the other party. You were sent to Congress to work together to pass laws to make this country run properly. Do your damn job.
Yeah. No, you're right. The executive orders, those are great for one-off needs, whatever, but they become such, it's what, they wait for Congress to whatever, and they just sign them. And then we saw it, right? Biden came in and undid a number that Trump put in. Trump did it that way because the Dems had that majority, or there were rhinos in there, and there's no way he could pass it. So the only way he could do it was there. A lot of the executive orders he put in were absolutely wonderful for this country. Biden undid them within the first couple of days without even a thought of what the impact was. Most of them, there's some he hasn't that are still in place, but a lot of them he did because, like you said, they have not passed laws because executive orders don't trump a law, pun intended. Right, a law is a law, and that's what's it. It's just like the whole thing what Rand Paul said when the whole mask on the planes thing was. He said one time, he goes, when they tell you when the flight attendant's saying you got to wear a mask, it's a law. He goes, they're lying to you. It's not a law. Congress didn't pass that. There's no law that says you had to wear a mask on the plane. Right? It was a policy by the administration's agency that oversees air travel that came up with it. But that is not a law. So that's why I keep hoping and praying. Midterms that come up, we will get a veto-proof majority of real Republicans, both bodies of Congress, that can start to pass the law. They can undo dumbass executive orders, things like that put in place. They can undo that. They can open up real investigation into real crimes that are going on, from insider legal stock trades to to funding to taking bribes and money from Chinese and Russian oligarchs and everything else that needs to happen, and at the same time pass laws that prosody, whether it's Second Amendment laws, whether any other topic, and especially immigration, economy, and everything else. Like they can shut down this nonstop printing of money and just giving out money. They have to do it. They have to band together. This is, in my opinion, this is Congress's last chance. They've got to do it here and prove to the millions of people that are swinging over to the Republicans, Hispanics, African Americans, all the different minorities that have always just towed the line with the Democrats, that are now have seen what the Democratic Party is about. They're coming back to give the Republicans a chance. Okay, hey Republicans, you say you're that much better. You say you know it better than Biden does. Be like, this is their chance. If the Republican Party does, assuming they get this majority that I hope and everyone, then they are absolutely and are freaking tits on a bull, because this is their chance to do it. This is their chance to prove to all American people of every race, color, creed, background, religion, freaking whatever, Americans, real Americans, what people do to make it Congress.
Well, we speculated, that the Democrat Party keeps Biden in place because they can control him and control what goes on, and he's just simply the puppet, and the people are pulling his strings. So when you no longer have control over those strings, if Republicans take the majority in both House and Senate, and it's veto proof, do you think they'll keep him around?
I mean, I think Kamala is the best insurance policy he has. They don't want her. They don't like her. That's why she'd even make it to she was the first one to drop out of the primaries. I don't know.
I mean, he becomes lame duck immediately.
He's lame duck now. He's been lame duck. I mean, he can't. But
they're able to force things down our throats.
Thank God for Manchin. He is lame duck. I mean, he can't get through some of the crazy stuff he wants. But no, I think look, once this flips over, I think Pelosi's gone. I think a number of them gone. And I think they're just going to step out. They're going to go find their board memberships or their whatever they're going to do. But they may keep him. I'm not sure he can go through. I don't think mentally probably and medically, physically, I don't think he's going to be able to take it all the way to 2020. I just don't see. I think it's going to look like Weekend at Bernie's in the last year. It's going to look like going to be propping him up, and they're going to be pulling the strings. I don't make it that. But look what's happening now. I mean, he's only a couple years in. But either way, it doesn't matter who they put in there. Kamala goes in there. He leaves. He resigns. Whatever. They 25th him. As long as they have veto-proof majority, they can at least start putting some laws in place and doing executive action. But man, this is it. The most important time for the Republican Party is right now, 2022 to 2024. Yep. This is their chance. And sorry for my French, to shit or get off the pot. They need to make it happen. This is it, because if they don't, they are just nothing but hot air, and they are no different than what they are telling and convincing people to come over for, of why to come over. It's got to be that. Part of that means they need to neuter the Murkowskis, Romneys, the McConnells, Grahams. Those folks all. It needs to be above them. Regardless, they can vote with the left. You need to have that majority.
Yeah, I like Taylor Greene, she's a Spitfire.
I like her and Boebert. I like her and Boebert too, and a number of them. Of course, a lot of people don't. That's how you know who the threats are, right? The left only goes after the ones that are a threat. If they're not a threat, they don't care.
Well, even Republicans come after Taylor Greene. Because one of the things that when she got removed from committees,
established
and
Republicans
I watched her.
Yeah,
I watched her on another podcast, and one of the things that, because she's got time, is the way voting happens, and a lot of people don't know this, is most of the time voting happens whether your representative is there or not. They just simply throw it out there. They say and they kind of vote by proxy or whatever, and it gets voted. Unless somebody actually says, no, I want a recorded vote. Well, Taylor Greene started showing up to all of these important votes and requesting a recorded vote. So then all of the Republicans and the Democrats would actually have to come down and vote.
Right.
And they were getting pissed off because they were having to vote on things that they didn't want their constituents to know they were voting on. And so she forced all of their hands, which is a good thing. You know, you should know exactly how your representatives are voting.
Right.
And
Right.
so,
and that's why they don't. That's that difference between, what is referred to commonly as the MAGA Republicans and the established Republicans. Hey,
yeah,
these are Republicans that are from the people. That they're back to what they intended for. You come from your local community. You go up and serve. It's a time of you're blessed to be represent your local constituents. To go up and do civil service. It's not a lifetime career. It should not be. It should not be a way to fatten your pockets. It's to go up and do your service, like jury duty, but a lot longer. And then you go back. That's essentially what it is. It's a real big ass jury duty, is what it is. But they don't look at it that way. They look at it as, I'm going there and staying. No one goes to jury duty thinking, I hope I just jump to another trial. I can jump to another trial.
Right.
But that's the way it should be considered, and that's why it's good, like Republicans, and or if there's Democrats like that too. We gave her crap earlier, but AOC has not been shy in calling out some of her own Democrats on some stuff. Even though I may not like what she's calling them out on in her policies, she has part of that same kind of thing on the left, in the fact of, hey, stand up and you're going to be held. And people are going to know what you're. Yeah, we'll see. But this is, I truly think, and people always say this is the the last couple 20. This is the election of all elections. This one has more impact than it. And that's said a lot, and it's almost become kind of cliche. But I really think because of how everything is right, president with the lowest approval rate ever, with an economy that's skyrocketing and inflation and everything else, and all these records that have been broken for bad reasons, that this is the time, and including records for good reasons about the number of people that are registering as Republicans and leaving Democrats. That's telling me, as an outside kind of an ignorant bystander watches this, that's telling me that the people are going, okay, we're going to give you a chance. This is it. Right. To me, it's the same reason why Obama won. The American people were so sick of the standard Washington, politicians, that they said, yeah, he's a senator. He's only been there a couple of years. He's from Chicago. He's a community organizer. Give him a chance. At least he's not one of them. Not the McCains, Schumers, and all them. So they said, let's give him a shot. And which way Biden.
It's exactly how Trump won.
Exactly how Trump won, because the American people, after 8 years of Obama, said, you didn't hear us. We said quit throwing up established Republicans. Guess what? Obama turned into be just like they're one of them too. But this guy truly is not a politician. Has never been a politician. And even though he's a billionaire, me making minimum wage or making medium income, I can totally relate to that guy, because he's more relatable than all you politicians who just suck off the government teat and think it's an appointment. And that's how he won, because that's why Bernie almost won. If the DNC did not sabotage Bernie, I'll believe it to my deathbed. He would have won the Democratic nomination, and may have even won, because even again, he was a senator, but he was so outside the norm that he was not looked at, even though he was also an old white guy. It wasn't about that. It was that he was not following along the standard Washington politics. That's how he almost won. Hillary was considered part of the establishment. That was the American people going from the left saying that's who we really want. And then when they cheated him, then they were like, I'm either going to Trump, or guess what? A lot of Democrats said, I'm not even bothered to vote, because they didn't want to vote for Hillary. So they just didn't show up.
Right. Well, so who's the Democrat Party going to put up after Biden? I mean, they're not going to put Harris up. No. Harris can't even get her own party nomination.
That's the problem. They don't have anybody. I mean, if Biden doesn't run in 24, they have nobody good. They really have nobody good to put. They're going to try to find someone young that they think can pull people over, because it's not going to be Buttigieg. It's not going to be Beto. It's not going to be Harris. Right? All those folks.
I've heard Gavin Newsom out of California.
Gavin's bucking for it, right? But Gavin has no influence outside of California. He really doesn't. And honestly, he ain't got a lot of influence there, in my opinion. He almost got like he's popular. So he doesn't, he may have sights on it, but when he passes. I'd love to see Rand Paul. But I don't. The Democrats really don't have it. They've because you know why? They put everything on Obama's and Clinton's for. What was Biden? Biden was just another Obama 2.0. He was also Clinton 2. I mean, he was just an extension of those families. In fact, now we're finding out probably even worse. If there's anyone who could be more corrupt and probably the Clintons is the Biden family. The Obama family hadn't been, but
that played to his favor. I mean, there wasn't a lot on him, right? So
right.
You didn't have.
There wasn't a track record, right? There's probably some sharp young Democrats, some governors, probably not Newsom, but some governors, or something like that. The best chance the Dems have, I said it in 20, and I'll say it again, is the one that they turn their backs on, and that's Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard,
right? But
she's on Fox a lot. I'm surprised she's sticking around. If anything else, she should go.
Or honestly, or Manchin. That's probably the best one because he could pull moderates and he would pull some Republicans. He'll pull the independents, right? He's probably not going to pull a lot of left because of what he's been doing. But a registered Democrat, I mean, they would, if he somehow won the primary, he would be the one they'd vote for because they would vote him versus Republican. But it's going to have to be, what I don't think it'll be is anyone progressive. It's just that's not.
Ralph Nader is still alive, by the way. I was surprised at that.
Is he
I didn't
really?
realize he was still alive.
How old is he?
Yeah, he's 88 years old.
Yeah, he ain't running. Sorry, Pat.
But Manchin's already 74, so he's. They're not going to prop up another.
No, I mean, people don't like Booker. He's fake. I mean, he's had his chance. There's
Spartacus.
Spartacus. There's the one dude out of New York. I forget his name. There's a couple that I think could be good contenders if they can get the national name recognition. Right? They got to build that. But the Democrats, whoever they put up there, it's going to be well, it's because they're not Republican. Right? That's how they're gonna do. It's going to be because they're not that bad evil Republican guy. But it's what are the Democrats going to hang their hat on? What are they going to do in the next 2 years that they can say, see, we're the party you should stay with? I mean, I don't know what I don't know how the heck they're going to justify that because there's no winning moment or topic that they can say, see, that's why you should stick with us.
Well, their only saving grace is that the American people have a short attention span, right? And just like what we started this conversation
they
with,
do, but
I said it's.
But part of that tension is their wallet.
Yeah, but if you look at that party and they won't even admit that there has some cognitive issues. He's not mentally well, and he gaffes on a regular basis, and they won't even admit it. If you can't even admit what we see with our own eyes, how can I trust you to then turn around and tell me that you're a better solution? Right. If you continue to lie to me straight to my face.
Whoever they pick is going to have to be almost anti-Biden. They're going to have to almost distance. I mean, he's going to be sacrificed like a pig to slaughter. I mean, he's going to be. They're going to not want him on the trail with them. They're going to want him, not to. He's going to be in bad health, can't do it. They're going to have to distance themselves from his politics. I mean, it's going to be someone. Look, even Biden, when he was running and campaigning, portrayed himself as still a moderate Democrat, down the middle of the road, blah blah blah, but then, as we know, once he got in there, because of who he has around him, they pulled him so far left it wasn't even funny. And I think the American people will remember that, especially the independents, right? The people that are ultra left and ultra right will always stay that way. They'll just ignore what they don't, right? But the people that really think about things and look. And right now, I think there's more and more that are going to the center because they're looking at their wallets. They're looking at taking to fill the pump, and they're looking at bare shelves, right? And they're looking at the schooling that their kids are getting and all this other stuff. I think there's more people that are pulling away from pulling more to the center and go, I need to be this more. Because me just punching the D line or the R line every election. I ran a good friend of mine. We just had the New York primary. She voted. She's like, it's the first primary I've ever. She's older than I am. She was like, I never. Why would I waste my time? And she was like, Republicans are on fire. Like she was like, And she's not the only one, but she is a good friend of mine. She's like, it's the first one I ever took my time to go to. I was considered a waste, especially because you live in New York. But she's like, oh, I want to make sure I have even though it's a primary, I'm going to put my vote. And and what we saw in the 9 primaries that happened up until the Maryland one yesterday is that it was the absolute lowest Democratic turnout ever in this country for primaries. Right? There's nothing.
I don't mean this pun, but for lack of a better term, the one dark horse for the Democrats is Michelle Obama.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, there's some rumor about it.
I don't know that she will, but I think she would give whomever Republicans put up a good run for the money.
The problem is with Michelle is she has. I mean, Hillary could say I was Secretary of State, right, and I was this and all that stuff, right. Michelle doesn't even have that. Right? She has nothing. No. Hers is I came up with a school lunch program that no kids like to eat. Right. I mean that's all. Right. That's all she has. Right. I came up with that. Yeah. She has less experience than Obama had when he ran. I mean, it's just I don't think that'll pull a demographic. That'll pull. It's like because people that vote off identity politics. She's a woman. Oh, she's black. Oh yeah, she's so cool. She's married to the cool guy.
Now all of a sudden they know what a woman is.
Yeah, now I'm saying they know what a woman is. Right, exactly. I wonder if Jackson, what's her name, will still. But yeah, like that's what I said, Mandy. She has no resume. She hasn't done anything. She hasn't held an office or whatever. So I mean, Oprah stands a better chance than her.
But she could select a very good, established VP, and it would be a very tough ticket.
She could. I think. What's her name in Georgia probably would stand a better. Would probably be
Stacey
Abrams. Yeah, but she'll want to be president and then claim it was taken from her. But yeah, I think her and there's the one out of Arizona. I don't remember her name. There's the one in Arizona they thought was going to be Biden's pick. But I think there's a couple options. I haven't paid enough attention to them.
Governor Whitmer out of Michigan.
Yeah, I don't.
Or is it Michigan, Wisconsin, whichever?
Michigan. Yeah, I'm not sure she's. I'm not sure she. It's they got to have the name. They either got to have something that attracts people, that kind of brings people in, or they got to have name recognition.
Right.
And right now, the left is so lockstep with whatever the DNC tells them and what Biden does. None of them are standing out. What I think is hurting them.
Right.
They don't have as long as Trump doesn't run. Right, really, I've said for a while he needs to be the kingmaker. He doesn't need to run again. He's too polarizing. It fought him for 4 years. He could do more power and do more good by kingmaker, as we've been seeing in all these different elections. If he runs, that will be their entire talking point. That'll be everything. It's Trump again, and we could risk getting a Democrats winning it because that's all they have to run on is I'm not Trump. Right. I can beat Trump. Yep. I can do this. He's really the worst. Even though I think I'd love to have him do a second term and all that stuff. I think now with everything that's happened and all this stuff and the way the narrative has went out there, what true or indifferent about January 6th and everything else. The worst thing he could do, he would energize the Democrats to come. Right.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
And so that's what. Why he just needs to be in the background and continue. Yeah, I'd love me some Nikki Haley, Mandy. I would love me some Nikki Haley. She's a good option, but that's of course Republican. Right. But Nikki Haley, and
I think DeSantis is the right choice.
DeSantis and Haley, or DeSantis and Kristi Noem. Either one of those will be great picks. But anyways, hey, we went hour and a half, man. What I do, half hour on politics. Oh my Lord, I'm sorry, but everybody's sticking with us though. Thank you so much for staying in there. Oprah's a resume. You get a car. No, you get a rebate. What is it? You get a COVID relief check. You get a COVID relief. They've already played that, man. You can't. Biden's already given everything. But yeah. All right. We had some other topics, but I knew we wouldn't get to them all. We just had enough to talk through. Anything else, Rob, before we let everyone go?
No. I think we hit pretty much everything I had on my list.
Yeah, it was a busy night, man. I did not think we were gonna get to the politics, but that's okay because that's some good stuff. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning with us. You've been watching, if you didn't know, listening to Stu and the Nunn. This was our July 21st episode. We went a whole hour and a half tonight. Thank you for tuning in, letting us in your ears and on your screens. We want to make sure you check back with us next Thursday here on Stu and the Nunn. Go to stewandthenunn.com. Find all of our links. We're all over YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. What else are we on? Twitch. Can't keep up
Twitch,
with them.
YouTube,
and a whole
Twitter,
bunch of audio.
Facebook.
By the way, YouTube yanked our show that I had Chuck Ziegenfuss on. Just so you know if you saw that or not.
Yeah.
I tried to appeal it. I appealed it, and they shot down my repeal in about 30 seconds. Because he said, I don't know what he said, something about something that probably to do with the COVID shot, and they were like, I forgot what the one. No, we yanked it. You're not. If you want to see that episode, which was great,
I could probably edit that section out and then upload that video.
Yeah,
So-
I'm not sure which one it is, but I remember it did say in there in the description what it was. I think
Right.
it had to do with it was either COVID or the 2020 election. I think it was 2020 election.
I think it was too.
Yeah, but anyways,
Yeah.
it's be sure and catch us there again, 8:00 Thursday, every Thursday. I think I'm here Thursday, but be down in Texas soon in about a month or so. Hopefully I run into Toby there. But Rob, thank you for joining me tonight.
I will be back in Texas next month for baby shower for my third grandchild. So
wow.
I will be down there for a little bit.
Okay, well
So-
let's link up on that. Maybe we can link up on
Right.
time. All right, sounds good. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We will let you all go and wish you all a good night. Rob, have a good one.
Have a good one.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Stu and the Nunn Show, and we hope you had as much fun listening to it as we did hosting it for you. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. You can find all these links at stewandthenunn.com. We will talk to you again next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. Thank you again, and have a good night.